I can only imagine being 7 years old and being told you're going to spend the rest of your life in jail. And for 7 years, that's what Jordan believed. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. I'm G and I do true crime videos from Mondays to Fridays. So if that's something that you like, consider subscribing. If you enjoy the content, please give us a like, as that supports us a lot. So today we're going to talk about the Jordan Brown case. So Jordan was 11 years old at the time of the incident, but he had always lived with his dad because his mom and dad had gotten a divorce, and mom was not really in the picture because I haven't found any records of visits and stuff like that. So it's just Jordan and his dad for a while until his dad started dating this lady, Kenzie Marie. Marie had known Chris Brown for a while, Jordan's dad. They had known each other for a while, but they had not really gotten in a serious relationship until this time. Now, the family was made up of Jordan, Chris Brown's son before the marriage, before they got engaged, and Marie's two kids, a 7-year-old and a 4-year-old. Now, when they moved in together, not long after that, Marie got pregnant and they were expecting a child together. So that is just the family dynamics. That's their little blended family. So Jordan was going to have to leave his room because Marie slept downstairs in the master's bedroom. Jordan was in another room upstairs, but he was going to have to move rooms when the baby came, so that there was a spare room next to Jordan's room. So the spare room had been turned into a nursery, so Jordan was going to have to come downstairs and switch rooms. So that had been in process, and Jordan had started moving some of his things from the bedroom upstairs to the bedroom downstairs because they were going to finalize the moving that weekend. So on February 20th, 2009, Chris gets up, kisses his wife goodbye, kisses him back, and goes off to work at about 6 something in the morning. Later on, Jordan and the 7-year-old, they get ready for school, and Jordan recalls that they were sitting in the living room, and at some point he had her phone clicked, and like she's checking the time, and she tells them to head out, else they are going to miss the bus because they usually take the bus to school, and they both head out and catch the bus to school. The driver recalls everything just being a normal day. They both head out and get to school, and at about 9, they leave for school at about 8, a few minutes past 8, and at about 9 a.m. some tree trimmers, a crew of 6 tree trimmers, come to the house and they start cutting the tree, and one of them notices that the door seemed open. So the other one says he's going to keep an eye on it. And not long after that, they saw the 4-year-old who lives in the house runs out and stands at the door and is just crying like crazy. So one of the tree trimmers is like, okay, he's going to go and check out and see what's wrong. And when he gets to her, she's just saying her mom is dead. This 4-year-old is just crying and bawling and saying her mom is dead. So he immediately calls 911. So this guy tells the little girl to get into the house, get a blanket, because it was like super cold. He tells her to get a blanket. She gets one, and he's just trying to talk her down and comfort her while waiting for the police officers to arrive. When they arrive, they get into the house, turn on the TV for the little girl just to keep her distracted while they're going to check out what's wrong with Kenzie. And when they got there was just blood everywhere. So the first thought that comes to their mind is that there must have been a hemorrhage or something. She's 8.5 months pregnant, so they're just thinking that's what's going on. And the person who has to come to take the pictures comes over. I actually read that they tried to revive her or something, but when they got to touch her, that's when they realized that there was a gunshot to her head, and that was where the blood was coming from. So now it's a crime scene, and they call Chris from work, and they don't tell him what's going on. They just call him to come over, and then they tell him she's dead and he has lost his fiancée and the baby. At the same time, at Jordan's school, Jordan was like having a stomach ache or something. He wasn't feeling fine, so he went to the school nurse and was trying to. He was like he needs to get home because he's not feeling good. So the school nurse is trying to call the home, and then an officer gets the phone and tells her, okay, what's going on there, and they cannot really exactly take him home at that time. So she just tries to calm him down, and she has to like babysit him till they get there. She does not tell Jordan what's happening at home and just lets him sleep where at her, in her office or something. So Jordan's dad comes home and they break the news to him. He just collapses where he collapsed there and was just distraught and upset and all of what you're going to expect when you find out you just lost your fiancé and a baby. At this point, the police have to find out when she died because the kids left at about 8:15, and it's about 9 o'clock when the three chambers came and the kid came out. So it's about 9 o'clock that they found out she's dead, and there were no tire tracks outside of the house, just like little kids' footprint from Jordan and the 7-year-old when they left the house to the bus. So now the police are trying to check the guns in the house because I think I failed to mention this, but Jordan and his dad were always into hunting and stuff. So Jordan can shoot, and they have a lot of guns at home. They even have like a kid's gun because Jordan used to go shooting and go hunting with his dad. So Kenzie was shot to the back of the head, and the type of wound formed showed that it had come from a shotgun, that the bullet had come from a shotgun, and the closeness of the gun to her when it had been shot, it seemed like it was pretty closely pointed to her, or if not touching her skin by the time it was shot, because of the way the wound formed around it. And at that range, the person who shot her is not going to have much blood on their body, blood or tissue. Like, it's not going to spill that much, but I mean, it's a gun, so you should at least expect some spilling. So the police go through the house, and there's a lot of guns. They are checking each one of them, trying to check if it's loaded or unloaded, and the police start to sniff the guns when they check a shotgun, because there were many. They checked one of them and sniffed it, and it smelled like it had been shot recently. They could agree on that. So that is already putting your minds in a certain direction. I'm just gonna tell you guys here, a few days prior to the murder, Jordan and his dad had actually been shooting with those guns. So it had been shot. Now the question is, does it smell like it has been shot from like 2 days ago, or has it been shot that same day? Because if you don't clean the gun, it's still going to smell like it has been shot for a couple of days. So the gun that smells like it has been shot, they take that shotgun in and test it for like residues, blood or tissue, and none is found inside of it. So it's not possible that you can shoot at this close range and no trace of blood or residues goes back inside. So nothing is found there. About the fingerprints, sources differ on what they think. Some sources say they did not do fingerprints check, and some sources say they found no fingerprints. So I'm not sure. So another crazy part about this case is that there was some blood found at the doorpost, which was not really looked much into because they did not check like fingerprints around the house and stuff like that. Also, there were bullet casings that were around the house. Some of them were rusty, and some of them, one was particularly new, but there were no fingerprints on it. But I mean, there was a shell there, so police are really thinking in a certain direction. The family, they were used to shooting guns, and so it's going to be very normal to see shells around the house at any time. Now let's go to the kids back at school. A police officer gets there and talks to the 7-year-old girl, and all she really says is it was just a normal morning for them, and she does not really notice anything new. This was during their first interview, and when he meets Jordan, he does not tell him Kenzie is there and just ask him if anything was strange that day. And he said nothing was strange, nothing was different. They got off and went to school. Nothing was strange. All that he really noted was that he saw a black truck outside of the house, but that was all he said. Now, during a second interview with the sister, she noted that when they were off on their way to school, Jordan had removed something from his pocket, like he was throwing it when they were about to get it, when they were running to go to the bus. And Jordan said it was, I don't remember what, but it was just like a toy, something that was in his pocket that he fell off, and then he tried to pick it, something like that, which was when he saw the truck. And his statement changed a little, because he said that the truck, that there was someone in the truck, and why didn't you mention this the first time we talked? And he said the lights in the truck were kind of partially on, so he was not really sure, but he said he saw someone ducking in the truck. So even though it's hard to do, but this is still a murder case, so the police get in Chris, and he's like, everyone is a suspect until proven innocent. So they get in Chris and try to talk to him, and Chris just comes out clean because they check his hands for gunpowder residue. He comes out clean, and even the timing, he was at work when all of this happened, and his co-workers could confirm that. They checked his car's GPS, and he was actually at work when all of this happened. But even judging from his emotion collapsing and being so surprised and overwhelmed with emotion when he was told about it, you could already tell he was not really going to be a suspect, but they just had to do their due diligence. Now, the next, Chris is cleared as a suspect, and the next person they are looking at is Jordan. And let's set it up a little bit. So Jordan had been just Jordan and his dad, and they had been just the two of them for a while, until Kenzie came in. And Kenzie already has two daughters now. They already had that family dynamics of him having a change of just having his dad to himself. Now Kenzie was going to have another baby boy, which was going to get his father's name Christopher. So that was, it seems to be like a motive, like a child who is jealous of a new baby being born and the new family and all the changes that happened, which the police claims to be Jordan's motive at that time. So while all of this is happening, at least the first time when they questioned the kids, they had not told Jordan at this point that his stepmom had died. So later on, his father explains to him, okay, his stepmom is gone, and she has gone to like heaven, and how you tell kids that someone has died. And he just blows up and starts crying, and he gets emotional. So when he calms down, the police try to interview him again, because during the 7-year-old's second interview, they had gotten a little bit more information than they got the first time. She also included that aside from she seeing Jordan take out something from his pocket or throw away something from his pocket, she also included that she had heard some sort of a bit of a noise before they left and took off to the bus station that morning. So she had heard some sort of a noise that sounded like a gun. That's what she said. Now they're asking Jordan, and also she said Jordan had been moving his guns around that morning. So Jordan's second interview, they're asking him, okay, what did you take out something from your pocket, which is what led to them searching for the bullets around the house. And he's saying something fell off, which is what he picked up, and then he saw the car. And Jordan also added in his second statement that he saw the person in the car, but he said, the police asked him if he told his 7-year-old stepsister about the truck, and he said yeah, he told her, but the distance between them was a bit far, so she might not have heard him, because he did not get any response from her when he talked about the truck. Chris is cleared as a suspect, and it seems to the police at this point like Jordan is just trying to give them a new suspect. But they take Jordan in and do gunshot residue on his hands, test him for gunshot residue, and he came out clean. And they also tested his jacket, the jacket he was wearing that day, for gunshot residue and tissues or blood to see if anything is going to come out come off of it. He did come out clean. There was no blood on his dress and there was no blood on tissue, but there was some gunshot residue on the clothes that he was wearing that day. But Jordan had been wearing the same jacket because it was cold, and he had been wearing the same jacket when he went for a turkey shoot the previous days prior to the murder. Let's talk about the black truck that Adam claimed to have seen. So the black truck coming up gave police an idea. Okay, I know who has a black truck. Well, Kenzie's ex has a black truck, and so police go to check him out, and they get him, like, he wasn't even met at home. He was met, they like caught up to him at an intersection, and he still had like snow on his car, some snow on his car. So police are thinking, okay, there's no way he would have driven to her place, committed the murder, and then gone back to his place, and the snow had not melted off. So it's not really sure if it was still snowing, because he was driving when they met him. And also he had an alibi. He said he had been at home the previous day from about 10 p.m. the previous day, and he was in the basement of their house, and for him to have to go out, he would have to pass through his dad, who was in the same house with him. So his dad was his alibi, and they tested him for gunpowder residue, and he came out clean, which is, I mean, it has this, all of this is a couple of hours later after the shooting had occurred, which is more than enough time for someone to get their hands really clean. So yeah, there's all of that. There's enough time for everything to have been cleaned up, but this is where the motive really comes in. So Adam had already been sending threatening messages. Everyone in Kenzie's family had a restraining order from him, because he had threatened to kill her and all of her family members. And he had actually had an altercation with her parents a couple of days previously, where he went to pick up food, and he had to be kicked out of that place because of that altercation, where he now went and lived with his dad in the basement. So there's already reasons, like he had already sent threatening phone calls, even though his own side of the story was he had never sent threatening phone calls. But everyone from like Quiz and everyone from her side said he had sent threatening phone calls. Now, what I think like was a really strong motive was because just 2 weeks to the day of her murder, Adam had found out that he was not the baby daddy. No, I'm joking. He was not the father of the 4-year-old that he thought was his daughter for the past 4 years. He had loved and paid child support. Like, you know, when someone is your child and you just discover this is not your child, plus having threatened to kill her family all the previous time, like all of that was supposed to definitely piss him off. But he told the police he was not mad, he was not angry, he was fine, it was okay. So after just that, they ruled him out as a suspect. Another red flag that stood out to me was that this guy told the police he had no idea where Kenzie lived now, but from basic knowledge, I know when you have like a restraining order against someone, you have to tell them where they can't go. It's not like they cannot move around the world. You have to tell them like where you cannot go, and that address should have been on the form of the restraining order. Or even if when you're pissed at someone, you have the drive and everything that you want to. He could have followed her, he could have found out about where she was living and all that. So I'm not sure he was completely being honest with the police, and his solid alibi was being at home with his dad. So that was really just weird to me. And he had also tested negative for gunpowder residue hours after the murder. And just weird thing to think that Jordan, who is some crazy kid, so he has never known the Adam guy, and he does not know what car he drives, and he just remembers seeing a black truck there. That was just really weird. So at about 3:30 a.m. that morning, when Chris and his kids had just tried to sleep and forget and just settle in on the thought that Kenzie and the baby were gone forever, The police came back to their house with an arrest warrant for 11-year-old Jordan for the murder of his fiancée, of his, oh boy, for the murder of his stepmom. Honestly, I feel like the police were just trying to do their job the best way that they could, but I don't understand how an 11-year-old, he was already ready for school. It's not like he did that before going to take a shower or something. He was already ready for school. I don't understand how he would leave upstairs, go get a gun, run downstairs, go kill her, and run back upstairs, keep the gun, and be looking sparkling clean, and be able to go to school and continue his day just like a normal day. So at this point, the police have the suspect, case closed, and Jordan is kept in an adult prison because in the state you have to trial a murder case. You have to try the person as an adult, and Jordan is sentenced to life in prison, and he's kept adults, I guess, because the crazy part is the person who is suffering the most is Chris, because he has just lost a fiance, lost a son, and now he's losing another son to a prison cell. And he believed his son absolutely that he believed Jordan that he had no idea what happened, because how would you even have that conversation with an 11-year-old? And people just think he's crazy. And Kenzie's side of the family believes that Jordan did it. Kenzie's family even said that Jordan had been a pain in the ass. He had been disrespecting Kenzie and all stuff like that. And Kenzie had to tell Chris about it. And Chris had to tell Jordan to be nice to her and stuff like that. So her family totally believes that Jordan did it. Whereas Chris really believed his son that he had no idea about what happened, because he kept trying to like get him to talk about it. Was it an accident? Did the gun just go off? What happened? And stuff like that. And he kept maintaining there was no gunshot when he was there. No gun went off. How would you be telling the child that, hey, you can't come home now? And he had to travel 200 and something miles to go and see Jordan. And it was just a mess, especially for the dad. So in 2013, the prosecution gives their theory and all of the narrative that had been created around this, that Jordan was just a jealous little boy and killed his stepmom and their unborn baby, and he was found guilty and was supposed to spend the rest of his life in prison. But in 2018, another judge, the Supreme Court, overthrew that ruling after finding out that there was not sufficient evidence to prove that Jordan was 11 years old, shot her, went upstairs, cleaned the gun super clean, and was able to make it to school on time, and did all of this, and no one really heard the sound. The Supreme Court just found out that they just did not have enough evidence to put this child in prison for the rest of his life, because there was no blood found in the shotgun that was his gun, and which was what they claimed that is his gun, and he used it to shoot her. And the police officers who actually smelled the gunpowder residue, they were not trained and experienced in smelling gunpowder residue. They were just using their normal senses like anyone would, and so they could not determine if that was a gunpowder residue that was very recent or from the previous days when they had been shooting the turkey. And also the gunpowder residue on Jordan's coat, his coat had not been washed after they did the turkey shoot, and if the dress is not washed after 2 weeks, after a month, or even a year, you can still trace some particles of gunpowder residues on those. And also what really made the police to go and arrest Jordan was because of the 7-year-old second statement during her interview, which said that she had heard a boom and she had seen Jordan throw out something from his pocket, which was not used at all during the first hearing. So that's just the case. I don't know what you guys think. Like, Kenzie's parents still feel like Jordan was guilty, and in this case, either this little guy got away with murder, or her killer is still out there and having the time of his life, which is horrible. It is sad that Jordan lost a childhood that he's never going to get, because he had been there, he had just been locked up for so long. And yeah, that's really sad. And Chris lost so much that same day. So what do you guys think of this case? What do you guys think of the video? Let me know in the comments, and see you guys in the next video.